Professor claims arcs buried beneath Earth will evacuate humans in end times. Now we're going to go into video about this and we're going to look deeper into this. This professor is saying some weird things, and we're going to get into the deeper aspect of what he's leaving out because it could be a Project Blue Beam operation, also a false alien invasion or abduction or anything. Space arcs buried under Earth to evacuate humans during end times, expert claims. We're going to get into all the craziness here, and he says, I have about probably 6 sources telling me about these space arcs that are all over the Earth pretty much, and they're buried. One of my sources is actually currently serving with the U.S. Army. He's been taken on several covert missions where he's been actually boarded to these arcs. He's been to a space arc in the Atlantic Ocean, also on the moon, this guy says. Also goes in and say it's really kind of like an ark that described in Noah's Ark in the legend. It's a very large one, like a mothership, and it's designed to evacuate large numbers of animals, flora during the time of catastrophe. Also, people. He goes in to say, though, apparently these things are buried all over Earth and they activate when we're in a point of history where we're either going to collapse or going to go into a political or war geographic catastrophe. Now, he also goes in to say that certain beings like reptilians was going to take over and have some type of basically totalitarian dictatorship, but then he's saying that's been extinguished. That threat has been extinguished. Well, how is it been extinguished if you say that? And then the certain things that you're saying doesn't all line up, because I'm going to go into it and show here in a second. But he also talks about where Russia potentially has like arcs and stuff like out there. We'll play a little clip.
Kind of like led to Ukraine kicking out a pro-Ukrainian or pro-Russian president. Now, is the conflict really all about geopolitics, or is it about something discovered in the southern region of Ukraine? Allegedly, there's a space ark, which is a giant spacecraft that's been buried there for thousands of years. The Ukrainians found it. They were handing it off to the Americans, and the Russians said, no way, and they invaded.
Now, we did read about these situations that he's talking about, and in Russia, obviously they have these tic tac style looking UFOs, right? The ones that always float around, the circular ones. So to me, he's saying that, but it could be a pre-staging for exactly what I'm about to say next. Because in the University of Arizona, they talked about they wasn't trying to evacuate humans. They talked about how they just wanted to get our DNA, sperm, egg samples, and so that they could just move forward and not have to deal with us. So is it that they're coming with some arcs out of nowhere and they're gonna come to save you, or are they just trying to put you in a petri dish and then mimic creation and think that they can do this? And I'm sure a lot of people will say, "Oh, I don't believe you get to the moon." Doesn't matter at this point. What matters is they have a plan to get all of our DNA, which they've already collected, and to get food samples from every different source and say, we're going to open up this new phase of life without you. So in his saying, he's saying these arcs are underneath the earth and they're going to activate. Sorry, the dog is in the background. They're going to activate at some given moment out of nowhere. So this is the craziness that we wanted to go into here with you. And what do you believe on these crazy things? He said in the end times, this is when these certain things were set to happen. So whatever his source is, whatever U.S. Army source, he didn't give out all the information on it. And he was throwing up his upside down pyramid the whole time as well. So to me, it sounds like maybe a pre-staging cover for the larger event of maybe some type of global fake invasion, or maybe not just a fake invasion, but something even more larger, sinister for them to develop. As Dr. Sala, the professor, says this. Thanks for tuning in. We'll have more reports coming. Stick around.